Oh, it's on now. When Jason Kelce, Super Bowl champ, all-pro lineman, and one of the most respected voices in football, goes on record saying, "I want Shedeur out there so bad," you better believe the NFL world takes notice. Because when a guy like Kelce speaks, he's not doing it for clicks. He's doing it because he's fed up. And frankly, he's saying what a lot of us have been thinking. What in the world are the Cleveland Browns doing? Week 1 is on the horizon. The quarterback room is a mess. The offensive identity? Undefined. And with all the potential in the world sitting quietly on the sideline in the form of Shedeur Sanders, if you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed. The Browns announce, almost casually, that Joe Flacco will be the starter. Joe Flacco. And no, this isn't 2012. This is a man who, in football terms, has seen his best days in the rearview mirror. A quarterback who didn't take a single preseason snap. A placeholder at best. Yet, somehow, the Browns have decided this is their best bet. It's baffling. It's infuriating. And most of all, it's insulting. Because sitting behind him is a 22-year-old with more upside, poise, and pure leadership potential than half the quarterbacks in the league. But instead of giving Shedeur the keys, or at the very least, the option to compete, he's been reduced to background noise in an offense begging for a spark. Kelce sees it. Fans see it. The analysts see it. But the Browns? Apparently, they've got tunnel vision. They see safe. They see veteran presence. They see stability. But what they don't see, or maybe refuse to acknowledge, is that there's nothing stable about a 39-year-old quarterback leading a team with no offensive momentum and no clear identity. Joe Flacco is not the future. Everyone knows that, and here's where it gets worse. This isn't just about Shedeur being benched. This is about a pattern, a continued, deliberate resistance to letting this kid show what he can really do. Every time he gets close to the spotlight, the Browns dim it. They shift the conversation. They talk about evaluations and timelines. They move the goalposts. And yet, Shedeur keeps showing up, keeps working, keeps taking every punch like a seasoned vet. But how many hits can one guy take, publicly and professionally, before it starts becoming clear that the system is rigged against him? And that's exactly what Jason Kelce was getting at. This isn't a talent issue. It's not a maturity issue. It's a politics issue, a power issue. It's about coaches and executives who are too prideful to admit that a fifth-round pick, one with a last name as loaded as Sanders, might actually be better than the guys they handpicked to run this offense. Because here's the truth no one in Berea wants to say out loud. If Shedeur balls out, a lot of people lose their excuse cards. The front office has to answer for why they drafted him so late. The coaching staff has to explain why he didn't get real reps. And Kevin Stefanski? He has to admit he bet on the wrong guys. So instead of facing that music, they stick with Joe Flacco. But at what cost? Look around the league. Young quarterbacks are being handed opportunities everywhere. Anthony Richardson, C.J. Stroud. Even undrafted guys are getting looks. And Shedeur Sanders? He's left running scout team drills like he's lucky to be in the room. It's backwards. It's regressive. It's the kind of old-school thinking that keeps bad franchises locked in purgatory for decades. But let's zoom out even further. This isn't just a Browns problem. It's an NFL problem. We're watching young, marketable, socially aware quarterbacks get boxed out by a system that still doesn't know how to handle players who don't fit the mold. And Shedeur, for all his polish and professionalism, has something that makes teams nervous: control over his narrative. He's not waiting around for a PR team to clean things up. He's not dependent on beat writers for attention. He is the headline. And the league isn't built for that kind of autonomy. So instead, they clip his wings. They delay his rise. They downplay his upside, all while pretending it's just about earning his place. Let's be clear. Shedeur is not asking for anything he hasn't worked for. He stayed in school when he could have jumped early. He earned his accolades. He performed under pressure. And yet now in the NFL, he's being treated like a rookie who should just wait his turn. And for what? To keep Joe Flacco warm until the wheels fall off? Jason Kelce isn't just mad because he's a Shedeur fan. He's mad because he's a football guy. A real one. He knows when a player is being wasted. He knows when a team is making decisions based on fear instead of vision. And he's not the only one who's frustrated. The fans? They're livid, not because they expected Shedeur to be Patrick Mahomes out the gate, but because they saw the potential, they saw the leadership, and they saw a team that actively chose to ignore it. Meanwhile, Shedeur keeps taking on the chin. He's been the definition of professional. No leaks, no passive-aggressive posts, no cryptic messages, just focus and grind. The kind of mentality every team says they want until it threatens the status quo. And here's the irony. The Browns need Shedeur more than they realize. Their offense is stagnant. Their locker room morale is shaky. And their coach, under fire from fans and analysts alike. If ever there was a time to turn to a spark plug with upside, now would be it. Instead, they chose the path of least resistance, the short-term patch, the comfortable narrative. But here's what's coming, and it's inevitable. Flacco will falter. Maybe not in week 1, maybe not in week 2, but it's coming. And when it does, the cries for Shedeur will be deafening. And if the Browns wait too long, they might find themselves in a situation where he doesn't want to stay. Because make no mistake, players talk, veterans talk, and Shedeur's camp knows exactly what's going on. His father certainly does. And if this continues, the call for a trade won't come from fans. It'll come from inside the house. And honestly, who could blame him? Why stay where you're tolerated instead of going somewhere you're valued? There are 31 other teams watching this unfold. Some are desperate for a fresh face. Some are rebuilding. Some are just smart enough to know when a hidden gem is being left in the dark. So the Browns better get their act together. Because right now, the rest of the NFL is sitting back, watching Shedeur Sanders get benched behind a quarterback who should be mentoring him, not starting his place. And when Jason Kelce says he wants Shedeur out of Cleveland, it's not just commentary. It's a warning. Oh, Cleveland, what are we even doing here? Let's not sugarcoat this. When Jason Kelce, a guy who's seen more trenches than half the league combined, gets visibly frustrated over how the Browns are treating Shedeur Sanders, you know this isn't just about football anymore. It's about principle, about optics, about what it says when a franchise with $6 billion valuation is still out here making Java-level decisions at the most important position on the field. And let's not pretend it was some strategic, mastermind move to name Joe Flacco the starter for week 1. That wasn't a chess move. That was a panic play. Please don't let this house of cards collapse on Live TV type of decision. Because let's face it, Flacco's best days are closer to Vine than TikTok. His last big moment was wearing a Ravens jersey and beating the 49ers in the Super Bowl. Beyoncé performed at halftime. That's how long ago we're talking. And now, suddenly, he's the guy you trust to lead this fragile, oddly assembled Browns offense into battle? This is what Jason Kelce, and honestly most sane people, are reacting to. It's not just about Shedeur getting benched. It's about the audacity of the decision. The absolute tone deafness of thinking that playing it safe with Flacco while a talented young QB is rotting behind clipboards is somehow going to fly in 2025. Spoiler, it's not. Because fans today aren't passive. They don't just sit back and nod along with the coaching staff logic. They see the inconsistencies. They watch the games. They notice when Shedeur is being paired with practice squad receivers and a line full of guys who get waived 2 days later. They notice when he's yanked before the 2-minute drill, while someone like Dylan Gabriel gets every chance to develop. And now that Joe Flacco is the official starter, there's no more pretending, no more talk of competition, no more fuzzy, we're still evaluating nonsense. The Browns made their choice. And they might have just lit the match that blows the whole thing up. Because here's the thing about Shedeur Sanders. It's not just the talent. That's obvious. He's got the arm, the mobility, the leadership, and the composure to be a franchise guy. But it's what comes with him that really matters. The brand, the legacy, the conversation. And the Browns had a front row seat to all of it. A golden opportunity to embrace a rising star before he exploded. But instead, they panicked. They backed away. They treated him like a liability when he should have been an investment. And now they got a very expensive, very temporary Band-Aid in Joe Flacco and a quarterback room full of wasted potential and bad decisions. Here's the bigger issue. The locker room knows. You don't think guys on that team see what's happening? You don't think they're talking about it in the group chats or side-eyeing the QB room at practice? Players respect talent. And when they see someone being treated unfairly, or when they see politics getting in the way of performance, it starts to rot the culture from the inside. Shedeur has done everything right. He's been accountable, humble, professional. He's put his head down and worked, even when the odds were stacked against him. But how long can someone stay motivated when the message from leadership is, "We don't believe in you"? Not forever. And this is what Jason Kelce meant. That frustration wasn't just about a football decision. It was about a young player being put in a situation that's actively hurting his growth. That's what's insane about all of this. Because Shedeur isn't just sitting behind Flacco. He's sitting behind the idea that experience somehow outweighs potential, even when the experience in question is barely relevant in today's NFL. This isn't 2010. The league isn't a pocket passer-only club anymore. The game has evolved. The most successful teams are the ones that lean into innovation, creativity, mobility, unpredictability. You know, the exact thing Shedeur brings to the table. Meanwhile, Cleveland's game plan is stuck in quicksand, hoping a 39-year-old with a stiff back and slow feet can somehow ignite an offense that couldn't light up a birthday candle last season. It's embarrassing, and it's going to get worse. Because when Flacco struggles, and he will, the questions are going to come fast. Why didn't you develop Shedeur? Why didn't you give him real preseason reps? Why didn't you build a plan around a guy who could be your future instead of renting a past? And the Browns won't have good answers, because they never had a plan to begin with. They were never developing Shedeur. They were delaying him, hoping he'd fade into the background, that the hype would cool, that fans would move on. But it didn't, and they haven't. Now the spotlight is hotter than ever. And Shedeur, he's still waiting, still holding that clipboard, still going through warm-ups, still being polite in interviews. But don't get it twisted, he's watching, he's remembering, he's taking mental notes on every decision made, every slight, every moment he was told to wait his turn. Because when his moment finally comes, and it will, it won't be a slow burn. It'll be a detonation. This is why you don't sleep on me moment. And the Browns will be scrambling to act like they always believed in him. Like this was all part of some long-term plan. Like they saw it all along. But we'll know the truth. And so will Shedeur. And here's the cruel irony. The longer the Browns try to control his rise, the harder it's going to hit them when it finally happens. Whether it's in Cleveland or on another team that actually gets it, Shedeur is going to succeed. Because talent always finds a way. So here's the advice they didn't ask for, but desperately need. Let the kid play. Stop protecting your own egos and start protecting your future. Because right now, you're not just wasting a season. You're wasting something generational. And Jason Kelce is absolutely right to be fuming. Because watching greatness get benched for mediocrity is maddening. Especially when we all know what's coming next. Shedeur Sanders isn't just a quarterback. He's a reckoning. And when he finally gets unleashed, God help the team that stood in his way. Let's get one thing straight. Jason Kelce didn't just say those words lightly. When he said, "I want Shedeur out of there so bad," he was tapping into a frustration that's been bubbling just under the surface of the entire football world. Not just because Shedeur Sanders is getting sidelined, but because this exact story has played out way too many times before. Different names, different cities, same pattern. You've got a young, dynamic quarterback. He's talented, he's poised, he's coachable. He brings a new energy, the kind you build a future around. But instead of nurturing that, certain teams shove him to the side, protect the status quo, and hope the rookie quietly fades into the background. Only this time, it's Shedeur Sanders. And fading quietly? That was never going to happen. This isn't a kid who stumbled into the league by accident. He didn't backpedal into the spotlight. He was raised in it. He's the son of Deion Sanders, primetime himself. And he grew up knowing how to handle pressure, how to control a narrative, how to walk into a room and own it. And still, Cleveland thought they could mute him. They thought they could bury him behind Joe Flacco and call it veteran leadership. They thought they could minimize his reps, surround him with a half-hearted preseason cast, and then act surprised when the results didn't sparkle. Let's be honest, it was sabotage with a smile. They didn't explicitly say, "We're setting you up to fail." No, that would have been too obvious. Instead, they dressed it up in generic coach speak. "We're evaluating. We like what we see, but there's room to grow. We're good with experience." Translation? You're not our guy. At least not yet. Maybe not ever. And Shedeur? He took it on the chin. No whining. No cryptic tweets. No media meltdowns. Just quiet resolve. Just film sessions, practice reps, and professionalism that most rookies don't even pretend to have. That's why Jason Kelce is pissed. That's why everyone with half a football brain is pissed. Because this isn't just about a rookie quarterback getting passed over. It's about a player doing everything right and still getting disrespected. Repeatedly. Look, Joe Flacco had a good run. He's a Super Bowl champ. He's a vet. Nobody's denying that. But this isn't about what he was. It's about what he is. And what he is now is a placeholder. A guy you start when you have no long-term plan. A guy you hope won't make mistakes. Even though you know he won't make magic either. Shedeur is magic. Maybe not yet at the NFL level. Maybe not polished perfection. But the flashes are there. The calm under pressure. The pocket presence. The swagger that doesn't feel forced. And most importantly, the will to prove everyone wrong. So what exactly are the Browns doing? Are they just terrified of the pressure that comes with Shedeur's brand? Scared that starting him means inheriting the media circus, the Dion discourse, the fan expectations? Because if that's the case, then newsflash, you shouldn't have drafted him. You don't draft Shedeur Sanders and expect silence. You draft him because you believe he's different. Because you believe that maybe, just maybe, he's worth the noise. But the Browns clearly didn't believe. At least not enough. So now, we're left watching a 22-year-old quarterback sit behind a guy who hasn't been a legitimate long-term starter in almost a decade, while a fan base desperate for hope is told to trust the process. What process? The one that buried Baker Mayfield until it was too late? The one that flip-flopped between Deshaun Watson's legal limbo and Jacoby Brissett's serviceable mediocrity? The one that still hasn't found a QB they can confidently build around? Yeah, sounds solid. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders, who, let's not forget, was one of the most efficient passers in college football last year, is over here catching strays for not dominating a preseason game while playing behind a bunch of guys who were cut 24 hours later. And still he smiles. Still he shows up. Still he refuses to take the bait. That's leadership. That's maturity. That's the guy you want building your offense. That's the guy you give a real shot, not just a series in the fourth quarter against third-string defenders on a busted playbook. And Jason Kelce sees it. That's why he's calling it out, because he's been in locker rooms. He knows what it looks like when politics starts to outweigh performance. He knows how it feels when talent gets sidelined because someone upstairs doesn't want to admit they were wrong. And make no mistake, this is a front office that's desperate not to look wrong. Wrong about the QB depth chart. Wrong about the way they're handling Shedeur. Wrong about trusting a relic of 2013 to navigate a 2025 offense. But here's the thing. They are wrong. And every snap Joe Flacco takes is a ticking time bomb. Every incomplete pass, every 3-and-out, every forced throw into double coverage is going to push this fan base closer to the edge. Because now the pressure isn't just on the QB, it's on the coaches, on the GM, on ownership. Every minute Shedeur stays benched is a moment of exposure. And not for him, for them. Because he's already proven more than most fifth-round picks ever do. And he did it with class, while being low-key iced out by the very people who should be investing in him. So what happens next? Here's a prediction. Flacco starts. He manages the game. Maybe he wins 1 or 2. Maybe he doesn't. But by week 4 or 5, the offense stalls. The fans start chanting. The analysts start screaming. And suddenly, the Browns are back in the same place they've been for 20 years, looking for a spark. And there Shedeur will be, calm, ready, watching. And when he gets a shot, it's going to be electric, because talent like his doesn't stay hidden forever. And all the Browns are doing right now is making sure that when he finally does pop off, it's going to be personal. So keep downplaying him. Keep saying he needs more time. Keep pretending that Flacco is your safe option. Just know that when Shedeur finally gets his chance, and you better believe he will, it's going to come with receipts. Every slight, every snub, every press conference where his name wasn't mentioned, he's taking notes. And the day it all clicks, the Browns won't just be trying to win games. They'll be trying to rewrite history. But we'll remember. Jason Kelce will remember. And so will everyone who watched this whole thing unfold and said, they're going to regret this. Because trust me, they will.